Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and this is my review for House of the Dragon, Episode 10.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy. Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews. Angry Andy Reviews.
Don't make me destroy you.
Well, holy hell. House of the Dragon Season 1 has finished with Episode 10, and this episode serves as sort of like, I guess, the springboard for absolute chaos to come, I reckon. So be aware there are full spoilers in this review. Man, where do you start? So immediately the episode starts with Rhaenyra discovering that her father has indeed passed away, and the immediate sort of betrayal by Alicent, by crowning King Aegon II, and him being crowned as the conqueror and all this and all that. And needless to say, she's extremely pissed off, and immediately there is even more bloody heartbreak for her. The child that she was carrying comes to term early, and it doesn't go well. It's another traumatic birth amongst a series of traumatic births, really. This series has really sort of shifted the focus away from graphic sex and ultra violence towards graphic sort of dealings of, birth and natural death. It's quite stark, the sort of differences here in the House of the Dragons compared to the Game of Thrones. There is a profound sense of differing tone, which is working in House of the Dragon's favour and has done throughout, especially, I'd say, the second, third onwards of this series, much to my delight. And yeah, it sits in well with sort of the theme of family and, the pains of trying to, make a family work in medieval times and in a fantasy time where dragons exist and where there's betrayal on a massive scale. So yeah, there is a horrible, heartbreaking scene where Rhaenyra loses her baby, and it's yet another example of superb performance. It's a mixture of abject pain, suffering, and sort of like a light moment of trying to cradle this baby that's never even took a breath. It's sad and it's quite poignant, and it serves as another element that brings Rhaenyra to the point where she is at the end of the episode. So following this, Rhaenyra makes a decision not to go immediately to war against Daemon's sort of wishes. He's there, briefing all the lords that are at Dragonstone with them, preparing for war and what they want to do. And she's like, nah, we're not doing that. We're not going to war. The idea of my father was to keep the kingdom together, and as queen, I want to do that. She is crowned queen. There is an absolutely fantastic scene with Daemon where he takes the two gold cloaks that are with Rhaenyra outside and essentially threatens them with a dragon. He says, you either swear fealty now or you'll be executed. And if you swear fealty now and then betray us further on down the line, and he doesn't necessarily point to the dragon, but the dragon's there and you can see what he's saying. And he says, your death will be painful. Well, okay then. So yeah, she is crowned queen. One of the brothers I mentioned in the last episode that I hadn't noticed before turns up with the crown that King Viserys had, and she is crowned on Dragonstone as the queen. And there's continuing plotting So this episode is a bit of a weird finale. There is an intense opening, and then there's a bit of a sort of like a lull throughout the majority of the middle portion of the episode, where it's all planning and strategizing, and you see Rhaenyra sort of struggling to cope with the idea of, doing multiple things, and, hearing that many of the people that sided with her are shifting focus and allegiance away to Aegon, and, it takes up until the point where the sea snake finally returns. He is alive and he's quite well. He's moving a bit laboriously, but he's quite well. And he comes with Princess Rhaenys. I'm remembering names. Finally, at the end of this series, I'm remembering goddamn names. And that says it all, really. And the sea snake fundamentally says, I will support you. He gives her full allegiance and says, you have the power of the Valyrian fleet. They have taken the Stepstones, I think it is. They have full control of that. And with that, they can pretty much blockade the entirety of the Narrow Sea and choke King's Landing out. So here, it's all strategizing. And there's this great table, which I'm pretty sure somebody's going to make, aren't they? This great table in the middle of Dragonstone that we've seen before. And candles are put underneath it, and it lights up the entirety of Westeros. It's wonderful. Perhaps, I wonder if they should have used that bloody table design as, the design for the title credits of this series. Because the title credits, I don't really know what the hell they are. I don't know what it is. The house sigils there, but we don't see those houses, really. We don't really interact with them. It's a bit bizarre. But anyway, that's just a bit of a flavour thing for me, but never mind. So yeah, there's full sort of commitment from House Valerian. With that, Rhaenyra decides it's time to reach out, and she wants to reach out to House Stark and House Baratheon, and Princess Rhaenys says, fuck it, I'll go to the Stepstones now, patrol on Meleys, the dragon that she took from the last episode, and I'll destroy anything that comes through. So we're getting immediately into, some plotting. And immediately Rhaenyra says, right, to her two sons, you want to help, you go as messengers. So she sends her oldest son, whose name is escaping me at the moment, sends her oldest son to Winterfell to treat with the Starks, because the idea obviously being if you have the Starks in your sort of support, you get the whole of the North, which we know anyway from Game of Thrones of past. And she sends Lucerys to the Baratheon household at Storm's End, and off they go on their dragons as messengers. She makes them swear not to be involved in any sort of conflict, any sort of fighting, and immediately you know something is going to go down here. When Lucerys arrives at Storm's End, who the hell is there? Prince Aemond. Yeah, you guessed it. On the big fucking dragon, Vhagar. He is there, and he's just stood in the corner with some girl who he has just basically agreed to marry as part of a deal with Lord Baratheon, whoever it is at the time, if they side with his brother and with Queen Alicent. So obviously Lucerys is told to basically fuck off you go. There's a bit of a to-do, and the Baratheon Lord says, no, not in my fucking ass, get the fuck out of here. And Lucerys flees on his rather small dragon, Arax, I think that's how it's pronounced, I'm not sure. And when he's flying off, he notices that Vhagar's not there at all, that big fucking huge bastard dragon. He notices that she's not there at all. When he's flying off, there is a wonderful shot. It's storms coming in, it's very atmospheric, it's very dark. There's a wonderful shot of him, of Lucerys and Arax flying, and right above them, the silhouette of Vhagar flies over them. Fucking terrifying. And what ensues is a bit of a cat and mouse game between Aemond and Lucerys. Aemond's obviously trying to wind him up, trying to frighten him. And at this point, it isn't really clear whether either of them wants to do any damage to each other, but Lucerys and Arax has already told Arax basically to listen to him, obey his commands, don't do anything stupid as they're flying away. But Arax obviously gets a bit scared. It's only a young dragon. Turns around and blasts Vhagar in the face with fire. And immediately Aemon loses control of Vhagar. It gets to a point where Lucerys flies above the clouds in what is a beautiful looking shot, absolutely beautiful looking shot. The storm's gone, they're above the storm, and out of nowhere, Vhagar comes off screen and snaps Arax in half, killing Lucerys immediately. And oh my god, what a fucking great scene. What a great scene, and thus we have the fucking start of the war. What I really liked about this, and I did a bit of digging up after the episode. According to the book, this is all based on, I've not read it myself, but the book sort of positions it as though, because it's a historical book, supposed to be written like in terms of like somebody's written as part of history, positions that Aemon actively wanted to murder Lucerys, but the show does something much better. It shows the two boys, and they are boys, the two boys in a position that they didn't want to be in, that they couldn't really control. They lose control of both of their dragons. Throughout the entirety of the time, Aemon is really struggling to recontrol Vhagar after the fire was blasted to his face. And you hear him, as soon as Vhagar grabs hold of Arax and Lucerys, you can hear Aemon shouting, "No, no, stop." But obviously it's too late, and Aemon's face, and a picture of abject, complete sort of like bafflement and shock, really, as he sees the bits and pieces of Arax and whatever's remaining of Lucerys plummeting through the sky. It gives something a bit more to this show, to these characters, rather than just being a simple act of murder, because there is, an element of kids with guns to it. I would say kids with weapons that they don't really know how to control, and we get a bit of a sort of like a bit of Chekhov's gun from Daemon earlier on in the episode, where he says we can't control dragons. Dragons. It's an illusion to think you control a dragon, and we see that here. They lose complete control of the dragons, and unfortunately, Lucerys is killed, and Aemon obviously starts this massive war. And we see the end of the episode, a wonderfully quiet single shot of Rhaenyra at the table in Dragonstone, talking to other lords, planning, and Daemon walks in straight to her, turns her around to face the fire, and obviously tells her of Lucerys' death. She stumbles a little bit, regains her composure, turns back, looks straight down the camera with that absolute fury in her eyes. And it's a wonderful shot. It's a wonderful shot. It's very atmospheric, and that's where the show ends. That's where season 1 comes to an end. Well, like in previous episodes, the acting has really stepped up a gear. The acting has been superb. For me, it's been the best part of the series so far. You have Rhys Ifans appearing in this episode again to try and convince Rhaenyra to bend the knee. She abjectly refuses. But there's a wonderful, bit of back and forth between him and Daemon. The acting's just been superb. The writing has been utterly superb throughout. It hasn't relied on, like I said earlier on, it hasn't relied on sex or ultra-violence. It has found its absolute strength in the writing of family politics, the family dynamic. Even with Lucerys and Aemon at the end, it's two cousins. One cousin, they've been bullying each other for years. It's a step up with regard to this bullying. And ultimately, it results in an accidental death, which is going to kick off a war, which in turn results in the deaths of thousands, quite possibly. I don't know any further in this story. And it's that level of sort of detail and writing which has really pushed this show through and won me over. It's been very enjoyable. The cinematography has been absolutely superb throughout. It's wonderfully atmospheric, this episode. Like I said, in the middle part, not much happens. It is very much plotting and planning and, preparing for war. Listening to the different, elements of everybody wanting to chime in. We should do this, we should do that. It's just been wonderful to sort of really bring it down and have it like this inter-character sort of building and the plotting in that way, rather than jumping from one family to another across the whole of Westeros. Keeping it focused, and it's very poignant. You should see that the last episode was all about Alicent. This episode's all about Rhaenyra. it's very, very interesting. We've had two different finales from two different perspectives, if you think of it in those terms, and I think it's just been a really great series. To be fair, I was really unsure of it at the start, and it's excelled. It's gone up for me. Other than the sort of like floating away in the middle part, for me, this has been another fantastic episode, and what a great way to sort of give you a bit of a cliffhanger to wait. How long are we going to wait? 2 years for another series? Rumour has it. They're not even starting filming till early 2023. So yeah, 18 months at the very least. My word. But what a way to leave it. What a way to, give us that tantalising sort of anticipation for the next series. And let's hope that it maintains the level of credible writing, acting, and thought within the characters. I hope they really keep it contained. Keep it to these central core characters that they've already maintained. I don't know what happens, I don't know who else comes in, but keep it maintained within these characters, and let's hope for some really impressive stories going forward. For me, this episode has been a clear 9 out of 10. Absolutely a superb episode. Apart from the sagging in the middle, which did drag it down slightly for me. But there wasn't anything truly wrong with it other than a bit of pacing, which is why it's a 9. But yeah, what a great series. Surprising. I chuffing hated Game of Thrones finale, but here we are. We are at a solid 9 out of 10 for the series finale of House of the Dragon Season 1. And there we go. That's my review done for this. I'm going to go now. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more reviews, TV opinions, movie reviews, and at some point in the future, hopefully, a return to collectibles. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.